at our daughter's engagement party. My wife did the unthinkable. She set her eyes on the father of the groom. After the ceremony, I stumbled upon them in the lounge, passionately entangled in each other's arms, kissing like long-lost lovers. She looked at him and said, "Makoto, you old fool. Where have you been all these years? I've been waiting for you to come back for me, for you. I never had children my entire life." Later, without a shred of concern for our decades of marriage or the bond she shared with our daughter, she turned to us and declared, "George, I've spent half my life with you, the rest of my days. I want to chase after the love I lost. Anna, I've raised you for so many years. It's time for you to repay me. Break up with David. I am marrying into the Ito family." At that moment, my daughter and I shared a glance. We had come to the same conclusion. I divorced her. Anna cut ties with her. Let this love-crazed old fool go and taste the bitter reality of love. Chapter 1. Willow, have you lost your mind? Ever since my wife, Willow, reunited with Makoto, the father-in-law-to-be, at our daughter's engagement party, her long-buried teenage love had reignited. Now, all she could think about was rekindling that old flame. Considering our decades-long marriage and the bond we shared with our daughter, I wanted to sit down and talk things through with her. But the moment Willow came back, she immediately demanded that our daughter break up with David. Just because she didn't want a mother and daughter marrying into the same family, it would be seen as a disgrace. She argued, "What did I do wrong? I raised her for over 20 years, and now that I need something in return, she can't repay me." Willow was stubborn, completely unmoved. In her heart, there was only Makoto now. Anna, our daughter, pleaded, "Mom, do you really have to turn our family upside down? Dad has been the one raising me since I was little. He cooked for me, did my laundry, attended my parent-teacher meetings. When I applied to college, when I got engaged, was there ever a time you were involved in my life?" Tears streamed down Anna's face, her voice filled with helplessness, trying to evoke even the slightest trace of maternal love from Willow. Willow scoffed, "You were just a stray I picked up. I'm not even your real mother. So why should I have done anything for you? If it weren't for the fact that I never wanted children, who knows where you'd still be digging through trash right now." Her heartless, selfish words hit Anna and me like a sledgehammer, leaving our heads buzzing. Suppressing my rage, I spoke. "Willow, Anna is my daughter. I will not let anyone hurt her, not even you. Go ahead and be as crazy as you want, but leave my daughter out of it." Willow and I had an arranged marriage. Back then, my mother was gravely ill, and her dying wish was to see me married. A matchmaker introduced Willow to me. She was like a swan that had wandered into a flock of ducks. I was mesmerized at first sight. After our wedding, Willow refused to get pregnant, saying she feared dying on the operating table. I agreed. I thought that even if we never had children, as long as we grew old together, that would be enough. Then one day, by chance, we found Anna. It felt like fate had given us a gift. Willow had always been cold toward her, but I thought it was just her personality and never gave it much thought. But now, she continued, "And you, George, if it weren't for my mother owing your family a debt and forcing me to marry you to repay it, do you really think I would have ever chosen you?" Of course, she was the town's most beautiful woman. Otherwise, she wouldn't have caught the eye of Makoto, the wealthy young master. Unfortunately for her, Makoto's mother disapproved of Willow back then. If not for that, she never would have been forced into marrying me. I replied, "Willow, 4 years, I treated you like a queen. Have I ever once made you do any housework? Every paycheck I earned, I handed it over to you, without keeping a single cent. Haven't I been good to you?" For her, I turned down an opportunity to work at a prestigious international architectural firm, choosing instead to stay in our home country and settle for a modest job as a real estate designer. She frowned. "And you still have the nerve to talk? It's because of you, this pathetic loser, that I've been stuck living in misery for half my life." I had cherished her for decades, yet she called it suffering. Fine. If she thought of our marriage as misery, then I would let her go and chase after her so-called happiness. I said, "All right, Willow, if you insist on a divorce, I only have one condition." Chapter 2. The moment Willow heard I was willing to divorce, her face lit up with joy. She eagerly asked, "What's your condition? Just say it." I replied, "You are not allowed to interfere with Anna's marriage. You are you. She is her." Our decades-long marriage had been a mess, but I would never let her ruin our daughter's happiness. Anna hesitated, holding my hand. "Dad, you don't have to sacrifice yourself for me. Do you really want to get divorced?" I gave her a reassuring smile. "Anna, after all these years of revolving around your mother, I'm tired too. Now that you're getting married and starting your own family, it's the perfect time for me to finally chase my own dreams. As an architect, my lifelong passion had always been to travel the world, to study the beauty of ancient architecture, and to preserve our intangible cultural heritage. But when I was young, Willow hated traveling, never cared for our daughter, and I was bound to them, unable to take a single step away. Willow, afraid I might change my mind, immediately pulled a divorce agreement from her bag. I chuckled. "You really came prepared." It was clear that she had made up her mind to end this marriage today. ignoring my sarcasm. She hurried me to sign the papers so we could finalize the divorce as soon as possible. She was even willing to leave with nothing. Willow was truly determined to throw everything away for her long-lost teenage love. I asked, "You're really taking nothing with you? Not even leaving yourself a safety net? Are you that sure Makoto will marry you?" It had been days since the engagement party, and I hadn't seen any sign that Makoto had serious intentions toward her. It was normal for older people to reminisce about the past, but abandoning one's own children for a decades-old romance, only Willow could do something so absurd. She scoffed. "You don't understand the love between Makoto and me. He came back looking for me years ago, but when he saw I was married, he lost hope and settled for someone else. In the end, it was you who wasted all these years of our lives. Now, his wife has long passed away, and he has remained single ever since because he was waiting for me." Willow spoke like a teenage girl, blushing as she mentioned Makoto. She had been sheltered by me for so many years, oblivious to the harsh realities of life. "Fine, let her go and experience the bitterness of love," I sighed, "as long as you don't regret it." I knew there was no point in arguing, so I signed the papers and handed them to her, agreeing to finalize the divorce the next day. I thought that was the end of it, until she pulled out another document and handed it to Anna. Across the top, in bold letters, were the words, "Severance Agreement." Anna and I stared at the paper in shock. "Willow, is this really necessary?" I asked in disbelief. "Anna has always treated you like her real mother, and this is how you repay her." Anna had been so attached to Willow growing up, always longing for her affection. While other mothers took their daughters on outings, Anna could only watch enviously from afar. As she got older, she gradually came to understand that Willow simply didn't care for her. Willow rolled her eyes. "Why all the fuss? Some stray brat I picked up. How dare she even call me mom?" I clenched my fists, my voice trembling with anger. "Willow, shut your mouth. How could a mother say something so cruel to her own child?" Anna quietly took the document and let out a soft sigh. "Dad, it's fine. I'll sign." With both our signatures on the paper, Willow beamed with satisfaction, exhaling in relief. "From now on, we are merely in-laws," she said with amusement. "If Anna calls me mother-in-law, maybe I'll consider responding." With that, she grabbed her suitcase and walked away without looking back. Anna helped me sit down. I wanted to comfort her, but before I could, she smiled and reassured me instead. "Dad, don't be sad. I'll introduce you to someone better." I sighed. "Anna, after all these years, I no longer care about romance. As long as you're happy, that's enough for me." At my age, I had long learned to let things go. The only thing that truly mattered was my daughter's happiness. I asked, "With all this chaos your mother caused, has David been giving you any trouble?" I worried that our family drama might affect Anna's relationship. She smirked. "Dad, as if he'd dare. Don't worry. Besides, ever since David's mother passed away, he and his father have been more like strangers than family. So no matter what happens between my mom and Mr. Ito, it won't affect David and me." Her words gave me some comfort. I smiled. "Then invite David over for dinner sometime. I'll cook a few dishes and have a drink with him." Anna grinned. "As you command, dear father." Thankfully, Willow had never been close to our daughter, so now that they had cut ties, Anna wasn't devastated, just a little disappointed. But time would heal that. Chapter 3. Before David even had a chance to visit, Makoto arrived first. Seeing him show up uninvited, I couldn't quite figure out his intentions. Was he here to provoke me? Unlikely. He was carrying gifts. Was he here to discuss our children's wedding? Anna hadn't mentioned anything about him coming. I stayed quiet, simply observing as a host should. Before he even finished his first cup of tea, he spoke. "George, I came today to apologize. I just found out about Willow's divorce from you. I never intended to ruin your marriage. Willow and I were just old friends catching up after years apart. Somehow, she misunderstood our conversation." "Ha, old friends. Ha, since when do old friends reunite by clinging to each other and making out in a back room?" Clearly, this was nothing more than an old fling reigniting for a brief moment of passion, except he hadn't expected Willow to latch onto him so desperately. And now, realizing the mess he had gotten himself into, he had come to see if I'd take her back. I smiled and replied, "Ito, my dear brother, Willow and I are already divorced. From now on, her life has nothing to do with me. You don't need to explain anything. If you came here just to talk about Willow, then you can leave now." I wasn't in the mood to play nice. No man would sit calmly and chat with the guy his wife had cheated on him with. Makoto sighed. "George, I know it's too late to say anything now. I just hope that our generation's problems don't affect the next. I think Anna is a wonderful girl, and when she marries into the Ito family, I will treat her as my own daughter." Ah, so he still cared about David, his only son, the one he expected to inherit his family business. I nodded. "I also want to keep our problems separate from the kids. Their happiness is the most important thing. If it weren't for Anna, I wouldn't have even bothered with this conversation." I stood up, ready to send him on his way, when suddenly, Willow barged in. Without waiting for an explanation, She immediately accused me of scheming behind her back to ruin her happiness. George, you hypocrite, acting all righteous, but scheming behind the scenes, she spat venomously. I shut her down immediately. Willow, this is my home. Watch your words. I told you on the day of the divorce, I won't interfere in your life, and you'd better not interfere in mine. Makoto stepped in to calm her down, trying to reason with her. Willow, I came here to tell George that I never intended to break up your marriage. I was just reminiscing about the past. I never meant to start over with you. When I saw you with a happy marriage and a loving daughter, I was genuinely happy for you. Besides, with our children getting married, this is already a way to make up for the regrets of our youth. Willow looked at him in disbelief. No, Makoto, you told me you had been waiting for me all these years. You never remarried because of me. She clung onto him desperately, as if he were the last piece of her lost youth. But Makoto only sighed. Willow, you misunderstood. When we were young, we thought our feelings would last forever. But we're old now. Why keep clinging to the past? His voice carried nothing but exhaustion, with no trace of the so-called love he once claimed to have. But to Willow, that only made her hold on tighter. But we're both single now. We can finally make up for what we lost. Makoto had no such intentions. He had lived a colorful life. He wasn't looking to settle down with an old flame. He quickly tried to de-escalate. Willow, you're getting emotional. Let's both calm down and talk later. Besides, our children are getting married soon. It's best if we don't see each other for a while. We don't want to embarrass them. Makoto had grown more cunning with age. Using the children's wedding as an excuse to escape, he turned to me. George, I'm sorry for the trouble. I'll take my leave now. Then he practically ran out the door, as if the devil himself was chasing him. Willow ran after him, unwilling to let go. Finally, the two troublemakers were gone, and I could enjoy some peace again. Later, David called to apologize as well. I reassured him. Son, don't worry about our generation's problems. Just focus on building a happy life with Anna. The wedding was fast approaching, and I wouldn't let anything ruin their special day. Chapter 4. Anna and I agreed that we wouldn't invite Willow to the wedding. The groom's side also had no intention of inviting her. Of course, I had no objections. Nothing mattered more than my daughter's happiness. I had heard that Willow had been pestering Makoto relentlessly, yet he continued to shut her out, refusing to see her, to escape from her completely. Makoto had even left the country, planning only to return for the wedding. On the day of the ceremony, my hands were shaking. I didn't even know where to put them. My friends teased me, saying I wasn't this nervous even at my own wedding. But how could it be the same? Back then, I was just a groom. Today, I was walking my daughter into a new chapter of her life. I held Anna's hand, step by step, leading her forward, just as I had done when she was a child, walking her home with laughter along the way. At the end of the aisle, David stood waiting. I looked him in the eye as I entrusted my daughter to him. David, if one day you no longer love Anna, tell me. I will take her home. He replied firmly. Dad, don't worry. That day will never come. The officiant stepped up and began the ceremony. From my seat, I watched my daughter, feeling both joy and sorrow. Then, the doors suddenly burst open. All eyes turned to the back of the hall. Willow had arrived. What? A wedding without inviting the mother, she announced loudly. Her lips curled into a smirk, as if she had already won. I turned to Makoto, silently questioning how this had happened. He looked just as stunned as I was, his face a mix of shock and growing frustration. We quickly moved to intercept her, pulling her aside to a corner while signaling the officiant to continue. I lowered my voice. Willow, what are you doing here? You weren't invited. She barely spared me a glance before replying. Relax, I'm not here for you. Then she turned to Makoto, eyes gleaming. Makoto, I have good news for you. She lifted her hand, holding a small plastic stick, a pregnancy test. Makoto grabbed it, examining it as if he could burn a hole through it with his glare. Willow smirked. You have two choices, marry me, or I ruin this wedding for everyone. Makoto and I spoke at the same time. You wouldn't dare. I warned her. I don't care what happens between you two, but today must go perfectly. Makoto knew he had no choice but to handle the mess himself. Gritting his teeth, he said, fine, I'll do whatever you want, but today, you stay quiet. He shot one last glance at the wedding stage before forcing himself to accept the situation. He turned to Willow, his voice cold. If you make a scene, I won't acknowledge you or that child. With that, he led her to a seat at the main table. The wedding continued without further disruption, but this was beyond absurd. Even if I had kept her well maintained over the years, Willow was still nearly 50. Was she not worried about the risks? And if word got out, people would talk, questioning why she had never conceived with me but suddenly did after our divorce. It would bring shame upon us all, especially Anna and David. And if the baby was born, it would bring nothing but endless trouble. After the guests left, we gathered at the Ito family's estate to discuss the situation. Makoto hadn't said a single word since hearing the news. Willow, on the other hand, sat protectively clutching her stomach, tugging at Makoto's sleeve like a pitiful child. Finally, He spoke, his voice hard. "Willow, this baby cannot be born." Her expression twisted in rage. "Why? I finally have a chance to have a child with you. This baby will make up for all the years we lost. I'm already an older mother. If I don't have this child now, I never will." Makoto sneered. "Do you want people to say you're an old clam giving birth to a pearl? Do you want them whispering about me behind my back? About the shame this would bring to the Ito family?" Makoto had spent his entire life building a pristine, respectable image. He would not let it all crumble because of one mistake. But Willow didn't care. "I don't care what people say. I only care about my baby." Desperate, she turned to Anna and David. "Anna, help me convince your father-in-law. I can't lose this child." "David, this is your blood relative. Help me." Neither of them even looked at her. Chapter 5. Willow collapsed onto the floor, completely alone, with no one to help her keep this child. Seeing that the matter had reached its conclusion, I didn't linger any longer. This was their family's problem now. Anna also took the opportunity to pull David away, using the excuse of sending me off to escape the chaos. Just as I was about to step out the door, Willow suddenly grabbed my sleeve. "George, can I come home with you?" Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, pleading. Years ago, I might have softened, but not anymore. After being deceived for over a decade, did she really think I would take her back, only to raise another man's child? I shook her hand off. "Willow, this is your home now." Without looking back, I walked away. A week later, I finally heard news about Willow again. Makoto had arranged for a private hospital to perform the abortion. He even had people watching her to make sure she didn't run away. But Willow had tricked him, pretending to agree to the procedure. She waited until his guard was down, then escaped. Now, the Ito family had people searching everywhere for her, and no one had expected her next move. She had gone straight to the biggest news outlet in the city, exposing Makoto as a heartless man who had abandoned her and was forcing her to abort his child. Almost immediately, the headlines exploded. Ito Group's leader abandons elderly lover, forces abortion. The story dominated trending searches. Ito Group's stock plummeted. Their official accounts were flooded with backlash. And to make matters worse, Willow reported Makoto to the police, accusing him of coercion and violating her rights to life and health. Makoto was arrested. Anna came home that evening, exhausted. "David has been running himself ragged dealing with this mess," she sighed. The media swarmed them. Investors were demanding their money back. Online trolls were feasting on the scandal. Makoto's lawyer had told them there was only one way to get him released. They needed Willow to sign a statement of forgiveness. Anna hesitated before asking me for a favor. "Dad, no matter what, I'm the Ito family's daughter-in-law now. I can't just sit by while my father-in-law is in jail." Anna had worked hard to become a government tax officer after college. If Makoto was convicted, it would impact her as well. I couldn't let Willow and Makoto's disaster drag my daughter down with them. Following the address Willow had left behind, we found her at a luxury maternity center. She had been using Makoto's money to ensure top-tier prenatal care, surrounded by staff catering to her every need. Her skin was glowing. Her cheeks were fuller. Clearly, she was doing just fine. Anna and I wasted no time with pleasantries. I asked directly, "Willow, what are you trying to achieve by blowing this up?" I had assumed she'd use public opinion to pressure Makoto, but calling the police had escalated things beyond repair. Willow lazily gestured to the couch, inviting us to sit. "I thought David would come to negotiate. Didn't expect it to be you two." She leaned back, smug. "Tell Makoto, if he wants my forgiveness, he must publicly acknowledge me and this child. And," she added, "he must transfer 50% of his assets to our baby." So that was her real goal. Being Mrs. Ito wasn't enough. She wanted half of everything he had. Anna frowned, clearly finding the demand outrageous. "Mom," but Willow cut her off sharply. "Don't call me that. We signed a severance agreement. Remember, until I officially become Mrs. Ito, you can address me as Madam Lu." I knew she had never truly cared for Anna, and now, she was resentful that Anna hadn't fought for her right to keep the baby earlier. Anna pursed her lips, then spoke carefully. "Madam Lu," she said, forcing herself to say it. "Getting official recognition isn't impossible, but 50% of the assets, that's too much. My father-in-law won't agree." Makoto had built his empire over decades. He had only reached the top because of his late wife's family's influence. Now Willow wanted to claim half of it, just because she was having his child. Willow's expression darkened instantly. "Why shouldn't he agree? He's the one begging me for mercy. He should be prepared to lose something." Her voice trembled with anger. "He told me he'd always come back for me, no matter what. He told me he loved slender women. So I starved myself for years, never daring to gain weight, never daring to get pregnant. And now he wants to dismiss all that as youthful foolishness. Dream on." Anna knew there was no reasoning with her. She stepped outside to call Makoto's lawyer, leaving me alone with Willow. I looked at her. She was still beautiful, and yet, she felt like a stranger. "Willow," I asked quietly, "is this the happiness you wanted?" She had spent 30 years chasing after a teenage love. Now, at nearly 50, She was pregnant, calculating how to use this child to trap the men she had worshipped for decades. She didn't answer. She didn't even look at me. Silence stretched between us, and in that silence, there was only regret. I regretted wasting 30 years before truly seeing her for who she was. And I didn't know if she regretted anything at all. Anna returned, her expression unreadable. She said, "Auntie Lou, my father-in-law has agreed to your terms. He also asked me to deliver a message. Willow, since you insist on stepping into my Ito family, then even in death, you will be a ghost of the Ito family." Upon hearing his words, Willow's tears suddenly fell in two silent streams, as if she couldn't feel them, remaining wordless for a long moment. Chapter 6. The next day, Ito Group's official account issued a statement. Makoto was set to marry Willow and make her the new Madame Ito. As soon as Willow received the signed asset transfer documents, she provided the statement of forgiveness. Makoto was released from custody. The moment he stepped out of the detention center, he handed full control of the company over to David and retreated to a life of leisure. Willow moved out of the maternity center and into the Ito family's old mansion, bringing her personal caregivers along with her. But the mansion was practically empty. David and Anna lived in their own home and rarely visited. Makoto, now free from corporate duties, completely let himself go, openly indulging in the nightlife, making no attempt to hide his affairs. The local media frequently covered his exploits, from lavish dinners with young models to late-night rendezvous at private clubs. And with every scandal, there was Willow, heavily pregnant, storming in to catch him in the act, creating scenes of chaos and destruction. Even without looking for updates, the news found me, pushed automatically to my phone, or casually mentioned in conversation with Anna. Every time I heard about Willow's latest outburst, I couldn't help but sigh. With Anna's wedding behind us, I finally had time to focus on my research on ancient architecture. I had spent years collecting notes and observations, and now I was working on compiling them into a publication. China's historical buildings faced numerous threats. Urbanization, modernization, and technological advancements were reshaping landscapes at an alarming rate. Many architectural treasures were being altered beyond recognition or demolished altogether. I wanted to do my part, to document and preserve the beauty of our ancient structures for future generations. For a long time, I lived in peace, buried in my work, but of course, peace never lasted. One day, someone came knocking, shattering my solitude. When I opened the door, I was startled to see Makoto, battered and bruised, looking utterly miserable. His face was swollen, one eye half shut, and his clothes were in disarray. Though shocked, I still let him inside. Makoto hunched over, his once proud demeanor replaced with exhaustion. He sighed, rubbing his temples. "George, I hate to bother you, but I had nowhere else to go. Willow is insane. How did you put up with her for so many years?" So that was it. Since moving into the Ito household, Willow had enforced strict rules. No going out without her approval. No talking to other women. If caught breaking the rules, immediate destruction of property would follow. Physical confrontations were common. I responded seriously. "She waited decades for you, even got pregnant at her age. As her husband, it's only fair that you be more understanding." Truthfully, neither of them had any right to complain. They were perfectly matched in their selfishness. Makoto let out a long sigh. "George, let me tell you the truth. The whole thing, it's a lie. I lied to her back then, but who knew she'd actually believe it?" For the first time, he confessed what really happened all those years ago. Makoto never loved Willow. He had no interest in marriage at the time, he just wanted to enjoy his youth. Willow was the one pushing for commitment. To get rid of her, Makoto had his mother intervene and chase her away. To keep her from clinging to him, he made a fake promise, telling her that once his mother was out of the way, he would return for her. Then he moved on, assuming she'd eventually forget him and start a new life. When he saw Willow again at the engagement party, he was simply amused, noticing that a woman had waited for 30 years because of a lie. At first, he entertained it, humoring her nostalgia. Honestly, I was just flattered. How often does a man get to say a woman waited 3 decades for him? I played along for a while, reliving the past. "You understand, right?" He shot me a knowing look, as if expecting me to agree. I remained silent. I wondered, if Willow ever learned this ugly truth, would she regret everything? But perhaps it was too late for regrets. I gave him a polite smile. "Well, for the sake of the baby, you should take better care of her." Makoto, however, wasn't concerned. His lips curled into an inscrutable smile. "A child is only a child if they are born. George." His voice was low. I wasn't sure I had heard him correctly. Before I could question him, he stood up, stretching. He only stayed for a short while before leaving. I watched him disappear into the distance, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why he had come here today. Chapter 7. A while ago, one of my research papers won a gold award in a prestigious journal, but instead of receiving my certificate directly, it was sent back to me by Willow. She explained, "You were still using my old email address. The organizers contacted me to collect it." Hearing this, my first thought was to change my email address immediately. Willow, however, continued talking. George, I'm really happy to see you rekindle your passion for architecture. She spoke as if she were reminiscing about old times. I remember how you used to spend your free time talking to Anna and me about the history and features of different buildings. Anna would fall asleep while listening, and you wouldn't even notice, you were too excited. Rambling on. That had been one of the rare moments of family warmth we had shared. I replied flatly. Yet back then, you always mocked me, called me a bookworm, said I was useless, that I'd never make real money. Willow froze, then let out a bitter laugh. I was the fool. George, I didn't realize the most precious thing wasn't money. I remained indifferent. You always cared about love above all else. Now you finally have everything you wanted, your man, your child. You should have no regrets. After so many years of chasing, she had finally caught up to her dream. She said softly, George, I miss your osmanthus pear soup. Whenever she was upset, I used to make that for her. It was sweet and soothing. After drinking it, her anger would disappear. I replied calmly, osmanthus season is over. I can't make it. And anyway, you can buy anything you want now. Just spend money. I was no longer the George who bent over backward to make her smile. She then offered, George, I finally learned how to use navigation apps. If you'd like, I can travel with you to see the ancient architecture of our country together. I had always been bad with directions, and in the past, I would often tell Willow that after Anna got married, we could finally travel the world together, but she had dismissed me back then. Go by yourself, she had said. I don't like traveling. It's too tiring. Now, she offered to go. I declined. No need. I've already learned how to navigate, and I've found friends who share my love for travel and ancient architecture. You should focus on taking care of your child. She had made her choice. Now she needed to live with it. Willow looked at me, her eyes turning red at my rejection, but I felt nothing. I remembered how she had looked at Makoto when they reunited, eyes just as teary, just as full of longing. How ironic. Then she hesitated before speaking again. George, I regret everything. Would you? I cut her off immediately. I wouldn't. Whatever she was about to ask, I didn't want to hear it. You should leave and don't come back. I had no place for her in my life anymore. Willow trembled as she got up, walking toward the door. She kept glancing back, hoping I'd call her back, but I didn't. When the door shut behind her, she stood outside for a long time before finally leaving. Later, Anna heard about Willow's visit and worried I might have softened. I reassured her, Anna, you're the only one in my heart now. That, and my passion for ancient architecture. Following the success of my last paper, I continued publishing more research. Then, one day, I received an invitation from Capital University to be an honorary lecturer. I was so excited that I couldn't sleep for nights. Anna teased me, Dad, they say if you fail in love, you succeed in your career. Standing at the front of a classroom, sharing my knowledge and passion with the younger generation. It was a dream I never thought I'd achieve, but now, it was real. And with that, I had no more regrets in this life. Chapter 8. After confirming my start date with Capital University, I began preparing to pack my things. The school provides accommodation, so after more than 30 years away from campus, I finally have the chance to return to the halls of art. No one can understand how excited I am. Ring, ring, ring. I picked up the phone. Dad, Aunt Willow's had an accident. She's in the hospital. Anna's voice came through the receiver. It turned out that Makoto had actually brought his mistress back to the old family house for the night. Willow couldn't stand it and got into a fight. The other woman didn't hold back and directly shoved Willow. She fell and started bleeding. The scene was chaotic. By the time they got her to the hospital, she needed emergency treatment. The baby was in a difficult position to deliver. The doctors tried their best, but the child was both premature and had suffered an impact. The baby was born without breathing. Because Willow was an older pregnant woman, the push caused severe hemorrhaging, and she was still in the operating room. All the grudges of this lifetime had ended when we got divorced. I really didn't want to get involved in their affairs anymore. Not hearing my response, Anna spoke again, sounding anxious. Dad, the doctor says it's not looking good. It could all be over tonight. Just before Aunt Willow went in, she said she wants to see you. I hesitated for a moment but finally agreed to Anna's request and headed to the hospital. By the time I arrived, the doctor had already issued a critical condition notice and asked the family to prepare for the worst. Who's George and who's Anna? The doctor asked. The patient wants to see you both. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Anna and I looked at each other and then stepped into the operating room. Willow was covered in tubes. The smell of blood still hung in the air. Her eyes lit up with a hint of focus when she saw the two of us. In a weak voice, she said, George, Anna, you're here. I don't have much longer. I suppose this is my punishment. Anna stood there looking shaken, unsure of herself. Willow beckoned Anna closer. Anna, can you call me Mom one more time? Anna opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Seeing this, tears slid down Willow's cheeks. It's all my fault, she said. I held on to something I shouldn't have and ruined myself. I'm about to die. Are you two still going to hate me? You won't forgive me. Just because you're about to die, does that mean the harm you did to us never existed? Letting go of the past is just a way for me to move on. It doesn't mean I've forgiven the hurt, Anna said. Auntie, if my father-in-law hadn't been so heartless to you, would you even think of my dad? If you hadn't lost your child, would you even think of me? In the end, all of this comes down to your own choices. Now, when you're on death's door, you suddenly remember us. Aren't you just afraid there'll be no one to visit your grave? It's not that you truly think you did something wrong. You're just terrified because you're dying. Crocodile tears aren't worth cherishing. Anna really is the daughter I raised, clear-minded, rational, and independent. She doesn't get swayed or guilt-tripped. Not all wounds can simply be laughed away. I rubbed my temples and said, Willow, let's not put on a show now that you're at the end. Makoto doesn't love you. David is basically a stranger to you. That's why you suddenly thought of us. From start to finish, you only ever loved yourself. Seeing that neither Anna nor I were falling for her pleas, Willow grew more agitated. She cursed at us. Worthless ingrate. I really misjudged you both. Anna and I looked at her current situation and no longer felt bound by the past. We were finally free to start new lives. Later, Willow did end up seeing Makoto. Nobody knows what she said, but Makoto fainted right there in the operating room. Eventually, Willow passed away. Makoto didn't hold a funeral for her. Even the cremation was done in a rush. After that, he rarely went out again. Chapter 9. I said goodbye to Anna and David, arrived at Capital University, and began my new life in my later years. My days were filled with preparing lessons, teaching, and planning trips with my colleagues. During my travels, I carefully documented the condition of ancient architectural sites and drafted feasible maintenance plans for their preservation. Life was fulfilling and romantic. Anna would occasionally visit me, sharing updates on her life. It was during one of these conversations that I finally understood what Willow had done to Makoto. She had seen through Makoto's true nature and, as an act of revenge, deliberately arranged for him to contract HIV. Now, Makoto was in the late stages of the disease. Adding to that, the stroke he suffered from his previous collapse had left him paralyzed in bed, completely at the mercy of others. Even with all the money in the world, it was nearly impossible to find anyone willing to care for him. In the end, David arranged for him to stay in a specialized nursing home, one filled with people in the same condition as him. But even there, he couldn't escape humiliation and suffering. What was once sweet as honey had turned into poison. Neither of them had spared the other. I told Anna to take good care of herself and not to feel obligated to visit me too often. I was living well now, better than I had in the past several decades. And in the days ahead, life would only get better.